Hey, what's up out there, guys? Happy New Year to one and all. Each January brings that fresh start to all your resolutions and just the overall excitement of another year to come. But January at the movie theater, it's a bit different, as it's been known for being the dumping ground for titles that studios don't have much or, if any, confidence in. The Grudge reboot came out last week. It only seemed to solidify that notion because it was not very good. But this week brings us the creature feature Underwater, starring Kristen Stewart and Vincent Cassel, directed by William Eubanks. So let's jump right into this movie and see if it continues that January trend or if it's actually successful in bringing some entertainment to the big screen. The story centers on an underwater research team that must struggle to survive when an earthquake basically devastates their subterranean laboratory. The water is coming, the walls are closing in on them as well, and this group of researchers are going to have to contend with something much deadlier out on the ocean floor that they could have never imagined being possible. Now, that may sound pretty simple to you. That's because it is. This movie isn't trying to break the mold. It isn't trying to be an epic like Interstellar, just underwater. It aims to create tension and uneasiness through 90 minutes of aquatic chaos, and I gotta say it succeeds in doing so. Now, critics more than likely aren't going to praise this movie, but I would say for the casual movie fan and for those who enjoy this subgenre that this movie was a delight. I think some critics never let a movie get in the way of their criticism. Some critics never let their criticism get in the way of enjoying a film. So let's look at this movie from two different angles, given that I'm much prouder of being just a movie geek than I am of being a film critic. I would say from a critical approach, the issues with this movie are very easy to see. Starting out with the story itself, it's a bit by the numbers as far as its progression. The characters aren't very developed, if at all, depending on what your definition of developed is. All the relationship dynamics between the crew and the banter between them has been done before as well. It keeps a very fast pace, but it does come at the cost of substance being infused into the story layers. As soon as this movie starts out, it's already feeding you exposition and backdrop through these headline clippings that are playing over the opening credits, so it was immediately clear that the pacing was going to be extremely swift. It isn't a story that tries to build much of an emotional connection to the characters, but I gotta say, surprisingly, it didn't really hinder the suspense. You care about them enough to kind of have some curiosity in where the story is going to take them, yet you really don't care who lives or dies. Another critic complaint that I can see coming from this movie, other than just the overall lack of plot originality, will be with some of the visuals. Now, I won't get much into spoilers as to save the surprise of events for you when you watch it, but I can see where there will be a little bit of issues taken with the look to many of the sequences that just take place out on the ocean floor. It's a bit murky, things look cloudy, and it isn't easy to really discern things from the other at times. It's missing that vivid clarity that many are used to in movies today, but at the same time, I actually enjoyed this visual aesthetic as it kind of felt realistic. It effectively brought me down there with the characters to kind of see things how they saw them, and with visibility at a minimum, there was a constant looming tension from all the darkness that I really enjoyed from this movie. Now, as a pure movie geek going into this movie, I would say it delivered pretty much exactly what I was expecting. Sure, the story has some conveniences and a lack of originality, but I wasn't expecting a deep dive into the story as much as I was expecting a deep dive into the suspense. The story does have its conveniences. The technology and the equipment sort of works for the narrative to get it to go where it needs to, but the suspension of disbelief isn't so high that you can't just accept things at face value to enjoy this movie. It starts out real fast, it pulls you right into the fight for survival, and with capable performances, the anxiety of the situations did a good job of keeping me on edge. Like I mentioned, you may not care too much about the characters or get a real strong bond with them, but they do have their own unique personalities that I thought humanized them just enough to create a little bit of appeal and interest in where things would go for them. They, as a group, run into one hurdle after another, and it was surprisingly interesting to see how they were going to maneuver through all their obstacles. And I gotta say, with some great practical sets, the claustrophobia and the fear from the characters does pour off the screen nicely. It's not breaking the mold, but I think it fits nicely into one, and the result was a fun, capable action thriller. It doesn't try to be over the top, yet it still does manage to deliver some genuine spectacle once the monster element enters the mix, and I gotta say, it was a good time. So overall, I'm going to give Underwater a solid 75%. I wanted an underwater monster movie with modern day filmmaking techniques, and it delivered just that. I think Kristen Stewart was solid in the lead, and surprisingly, the comedic relief from TJ Miller really did work nicely to break the emotional tension in places when needed. It's not going to blow your mind, but it certainly can lock in your attention, and with a quick runtime, it doesn't wear out its welcome. I think it creates some very genuine uneasiness. It has some appealing visuals and just enough styling behind the camera to give it some charisma, and if you like this small genre of movies, then I definitely recommend checking it out.
Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, drop it a thumbs up, leave a comment below. I'd love to talk movies with you guys. Share it with your friends, and without question, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you can never miss a video. Here are some links to some recent reviews just in case you missed them. All my social media links and the link to our official website are down in the description below, and I'll catch you next time.